It's unlikely that when you first started blogging, you knew what you know now. You weren't already good at SEO. You didn't understand how to structure your site. You were just creating content because you knew that that was how you learned. That's perfectly normal, but the problem is you look backwards and you're like, gosh, I have so many mistakes that I need to fix. So you feel like you're creating one new piece of content and then going back and trying to fix everything else. It's very time consuming and it's really, really inefficient. I was doing this myself. I kept creating content and then I'd go back and I'd update titles, I'd update meta descriptions and tags and categories. It was taking so much of my time and it was stuff that I could outsource. So I tried to outsource it and that went fine too, but I was spending about $400 a week on someone to do this, which is fine. It was worth it, but I wanted to make it faster. I felt like I was still being inefficient and the person I was hiring to update content could be helping me create content, which is a higher ROI task for me. So I started searching around the internet and I found a tool called WP Sheet Editor. And I don't know how I stumbled upon it because no one was talking about it. So I figured, oh, this is probably janky. It's not going to do very much. And I started to watch the tutorials that they had and I could tell they were a little bit dry. So I was like, all right, I can see why people would be bored by this and just give up. But I really stuck with it and I started to use it and I was just like, holy shit. Why is no one talking about this? This is probably the most powerful SEO related plugin on the planet. Seriously. And if you have more than a couple of posts or pages on your site, you will absolutely love what I'm about to show you. This is going to dramatically reduce the amount of time you spend updating old content. And you'll be able to see results much faster because you'll be able to update much more quickly. So the purpose of this video is to reduce the overwhelm that you're going to get. You'll understand once you see WP Sheet Editor why people are overwhelmed. But I want you to fight that natural inclination to be overwhelmed by it because I'm going to show you how to do it easily. Just watch this video all the way through. I know it might seem a little bit dry, but please watch it till the end and you will thank yourself every day for the rest of your blogging career because it's going to save you so much time. All right, let's get into the video. But first, if you are an affiliate marketer and you're new to the channel and you want additional videos 2 to 3 times a week that are going to help you grow your affiliate marketing business, go ahead and click subscribe. Also, thumbs up this video if you found it helpful. That helps me out a lot and I really appreciate it. All right, let's get into my computer and I will show you what WP Sheet Editor is and what it can do for you. Okay, to get started, visit WP Sheet Editor. I do have a link down below in the description and also a coupon code that may or may not be better than the deal on the site right now. Looks like they're offering 30% off for Black Friday. But what you're going to need, come up here and you see on plugins, they have a lot of plugins. So this might be a little bit overwhelming. So you can purchase individual plugins for unlimited sites for $199 each, or you can get all of them for, with the discount, $299 for unlimited sites. That's what I bought. If you're just going to buy them a la carte though, and you want to try them maybe just for a year, it's a little bit cheaper. The ones that I highly recommend that you get are these two right here: posts, pages, and custom post types, and then categories, tags, product attributes, taxonomies, spreadsheet. If you go through the rest of these, you'll see some cool things too. I have, like I said, all of them, but those are the ones that I recommend. Those are the two that are really big for me. If you have a WooCommerce site, I'm guessing that you would also love this. They have a ton of options for updating products. I do not use WooCommerce. I use Thrivecart, so that's not for me. Another thing that I do actually enjoy a lot is the comments and reviews spreadsheet. I'm able to go through and update comments. Like the other day, I went through and deleted every single outbound URL that was linked that was spammy. So that was about 4 hours of time. It took me literally 10 minutes to do that. So go ahead and grab those, install them on your site. I'm going to go ahead and open up my big site, entreresource.com. And then we're going to come down here into WP Sheet Editor. I'm just going to click on it. And I'm going to explain the things that we can edit before we get into actually editing them. The big ones are editing post titles, editing page titles, editing meta descriptions, and then editing featured images. I think the featured image feature is really cool because a lot of people, myself included, hated their initial featured images. Featured images aren't as big of a deal on a WordPress site as they are on YouTube, where it makes a huge difference on YouTube because that's what people see. In Google, not so much, even though they are making them visible now for some posts randomly. But if you want to do that, you can edit those. The other things that are most important, in my opinion, are tags and categories. Most people do not properly tag and categorize their websites from day one. Having a good tagging and categorizing structure is going to help you do a lot of things. So one really great example of that would be running your pop-ups and setting rules for where your pop-ups show up. So for example, I have like 6 different buckets of people that come to this particular website. I need to have rules in place that make sure that they see the right pop-ups, or they're just going to bounce off the page. The odds of them converting will be low. So for example, this one right here that is a blogging checklist, I have rules set up so that it only shows to people that are in certain categories. However, when I first started blogging, I didn't have these categories. So you might not have categories right now either. You might not have tags. So if you don't have those things, this is super helpful to add them really quickly. So that's just one example. I'm able to go in there and edit posts at scale so that I now have this good tagging and categorizing structure. So that's the big one right out of the gate. I think everyone could benefit from. If you don't have good tagging set up, this is the fastest and easiest way for you to get that done. So let's go ahead and jump in here. I'm going to show you how to do that. And in the process of doing that, you'll see how you can also edit other things. But that is a good point to start because I think everybody can have that as a very quick win. Okay, so what you need to know about WP Sheet Editor is it works like a regular spreadsheet. So let's go in here and let's just click on Enable New Spreadsheet. And then let's do it for posts. So you'll see down here they have other things like Thrive Lightbox, Pretty Links, Coupons, Lasso, Lockers. Those are automatically generated from plugins that I have. So yours will look different depending on which plugins you have. But it's really pretty amazing to me that it does that. So I can go in there and I can edit my Lasso links, which is something that is beyond this video. But you will have at least pages and posts, okay? Also, Media Library, that one's really powerful too. It can let you go in and edit alt tags and image descriptions for other content, but that is a different plugin than the two that I recommended. That one is here, Media Library. And although that one is really great, there are other plugins that can do that at scale. The one I use is called Auto Attributes Pro, and that lets me update all of my images really, really quickly. So that's the only reason I didn't recommend that one right out of the gate, even though that is a really cool tool to have. So let's go back into WP Sheet Editor, and then let's click on Enable New Spreadsheet, and then let's start with those posts, okay? Because the posts are going to be the ones that you want to update the tags and categories for. So let's click Save. And this is where you might start to get a little bit confused because look over here on, you have enabled and disabled. On disabled, there are so many freaking options that you can add. And this is one of the ironic pitfalls of this software is that it does too much for most people. So even for me, I don't know what this is. Thrive page events. I don't know what that is. And that's perfectly fine because I don't need to use it to get the value. 99% of the value is going to be in these few things here. So what we're going to have set up for this one by default is, let's go ahead and just set this up. I like to have the featured image. Just drag it. I don't want the social image just yet. Order, put that at the bottom. Date, I like to have the date on there. Excerpt, if you have a blog where the excerpts show up, that's nice to have. Tags, categories. That is about all that I've really, obviously, title. So the difference here is SEO title. So you will have a couple of things that might confuse you. You'll have SEO title and then regular title. Use SEO title. That's going to be what actually shows up in search engines. So write that down. Just double check all of your changes and make sure that they're appearing inside of Google the way that you wanted. So there's really nothing else here that I care about at this point. A couple of other things that we could do. I could do SEO keyword if I haven't already done that with Yoast. SEO primary category. But for now, I'm not worried about that. And like I said, all of these are super confusing. There's a lot of different things here that you have no reason to know about. Also, remember that this is going to look different depending on the plugins that you have. Like if you don't use ConvertKit, you're not going to see that. If you don't use Thrive themes, you're not going to see anything here that says Thrive. Okay. So don't panic about all of that. And fortunately, all of the good stuff that you need is right at the top or already over here. Okay. And let's just quickly go through all the ones that I have here. I have URL slug. So that's going to be the website and then the part that comes after the website. So it'll be like /about page if it was a page, right? So that's going to be there. And then we'll have the SEO title, which is going to be the headline. This is something that I edit at scale. I'll take all of my headlines. And what I like to do actually, and I don't want to get into this video because it's one thing I like to do is take all of my posts and go into Google Search Console and see which ones have low clicks and then prioritize those headlines with low CTRs and then edit them. But I'm not going to do that in this video. It would just take too much time. But just know that that's a way that we could go about triaging which posts we edit first. So I like to have that SEO title, SEO description. So these are the two big hitters when it comes to SEO, the title and the meta description. That's going to be what really impacts a lot of our clicks in Google. Status, this is going to be whether it's published or draft. I like to filter out the draft posts. Obviously. Featured image, if I'm going to edit the featured images, this is cool because it shows you all of the featured images. It also shows you things like if there isn't a featured image, so you can quickly edit that and upload a new one. Order, I actually don't need order. Date, excerpt, tags, and categories. So the date is going to be the publish on date. If you do make a change, you go ahead and update that publish on date. All right, so we are good to go. So let's go ahead and hop over to that. I do recommend that you go up here, and if you want to just do what I'm doing, snag a screenshot of this, and then you can move it around however you want. Like I might want to put my excerpt here actually. Status, I put the status at the bottom because that one doesn't really matter. I just want to filter that out because I don't want to see drafts. But this is pretty much going to give me everything that I need. Like I said, so many things you can do, but only so many things that you need to do. Okay, now we're going to have a ton of data here to look at. And it might feel a little bit overwhelming. So I'm going to show you something that makes this process much, much, much easier. As cool as this is, I do not like to actually make my edits inside of this. I like to export them into a CSV file, and then I update them there, and then I import them and all of the changes show up. So just understand this. Anything that we edit on here will edit live on the actual post. So if I change this SEO title right here, it is going to change it, assuming that it's published. Even if it's not published, it'll change the draft version. So any changes here, I'm going to say it again, will be reflective on the actual site. So this is live. This is the exact same as if you were in the WordPress dashboard editing a post. All right. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually come in here and export everything. So I'm going to come to export. And then I'm just going to select active columns, which is going to be all the ones that I already put in there. And one that's super important that you wouldn't have seen originally when we started is ID. ID is going to be what distinguishes each post. So we have to have that or this is not going to work. So that will show up, keep that on, and then keep everything else on there that you had before, okay? And I could have filtered out all the drafts. For now, I'm just going to keep them and then I'll filter them out once I get it. I'm going to choose to do this one actually in Google Sheets. And I'll call this demo for YouTube. I'm going to start new export. Super fast. It's going to export 485 rows, which is all of the posts and drafts that I have up there right now. Like I said, when you have a ton of content, that would take me a very, very, very long time to do. And I'm going to show you how freaking cool this is. So imagine if you have, let's say you have no tags on your site and you want to give everything the same tag, you could just click, drag all the way down and add it to every single page. So let's go ahead and let's open up this CSV file. And I can edit the changes in the CSV file, or I can do them in Google Sheets. And I prefer to do them in Google Sheets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a copy and paste of everything. And I'm going to open up Google Drive. And then we will create a new sheet. And then I'm going to paste everything. Hopefully it pastes it. Sometimes big files can kind of cramp up Google Sheets, but no, there we go. And I'll name this 2022 YouTube demo. It's actually 2021 when I'm doing this, but let's be honest, you know, YouTube, you got to put the next year. By the time y'all are seeing this, it'll probably be 2022, right? All right. So now the URL slug, this is something we want to be careful of. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and first do a Command A again, and then we'll come down to data, and then we'll do create a filter. Because what I want to do is I want to filter out all of the drafts. So we only have stuff that's published. Okay. And now I can also see some things that stick out. Like I don't have excerpts for a few things. So what we can do is we can clear everything except for the blanks. And now I have a whole list of posts that I need to add excerpts to. Pretty cool. So I can just sit here and add default. All right, let's just put, you're going to love this post. Right? Obviously I wouldn't do that, but if I wanted to, I could just drag that down. And now it's going to be on every single one of those posts that I wanted to. Keep in mind, when we're editing in this is not live yet. This is something we can just mess with. To make it live, we have to actually go back and import it. So I can mess with that without it being an issue. Also, when you're in the actual area inside of, when you're actually editing it inside of the editor in WordPress, it only saves once you click save. Okay. So keep in mind, you do kind of have a get out of jail free card there. Just don't click save until you're sure. But for now, I want to see everything. But that's just one way to quickly filter down. Excerpts don't really matter for me because I don't use them on my site. But if you have a site where you do use excerpts, it's super important and you need that. But now I'm seeing things like right here. This is really not good. I have one SEO title here that's completely missing. So I'm going to change that to, I got to go to that URL. Let's go ahead and find that. So that's cool. I'm glad that I'm doing this because I didn't even notice that. And you can see that quickly. And that is such a just a low-hanging fruit opportunity where you can go and fix things that are a big deal. Like not having that title, that means that in Google, I'm showing up with some random headline, right? The font there shouldn't matter. I don't think it does. Let's just go ahead for now and just paste that. And then I will copy it again, but I'll paste it with the styling. I've honestly never tested to see if that matters. Okay, so that's good because now I actually will have something to edit. And if I wanted to filter even further, I wanted to see if I have other things that are blank. I could, but I actually don't. So that's good. All right. And then when it comes to categories over here, if I wanted to update categories, I could do that. I could just add, like, let's see if there's any that don't have a category. Okay, there's no blanks. But let's say I wanted to change this one from entrepreneurship to hide. So I do have, whoops, sorry. I want to change that to a category. I'm going to take that out and I'm going to change the tag here to hide because I don't want that to show up throughout the entire year. So I have a rule set up where if I click that to hide, it's going to not show up. Let's do the same thing with the text. It's going to not show up on my main website because like right now, if you go to the site, that article actually shows up, but Black Friday is over. So I want that to not show up here. So I have a rule set up where the hide posts don't show up there. So that's an important tag. That's just an example of using tags to better organize your site, to better organize what people see and all of that good stuff, okay? So anything else that I want to change, I can do that here. I don't really recommend messing with the slugs too much unless you really want to. It's going to create redirects. So personally, I don't really mess with that. But let's say that I wanted to go back here and do these excerpts. Let's just do a few just for the sake of it so I can have something to upload. iPhone bedside clock. I'll put cool trick to turn an old iPhone into a beautiful looking clock. Bedside clock. TikTok loved this. All right. And like I said, I don't have those normally because I don't use them. And then featured image, if I want, you can't see them here but in the sheet editor, you can see them. That gives them a little display, but here I can actually see the image there. So if I wanted to, I could actually edit that and I could paste a new URL there. The best way to do this though, if you want to mess with the featured image, would be to actually do that inside of the actual editor here. If you see, you can hover over these and it will show you down here in the bottom right, which is really cool because you can click on featured image. And if you have a new one, I can just drag it, upload it, and then we're good to go. Pretty freaking cool, right? All right, so that's kind of the gist of that. Just know that you can edit anything you want. Now I'm going to show you how to actually go about importing this into our website so that the changes are actually saved. So I shouldn't have clicked import. I'm going to put download, and I'm going to do download as a CSV file. Okay. And then I'm going to come back into that page. I'm going to come to import. I'll do CSV from computer, choose my file. I'm going to find that. Right here. Next, and now it's going to ask me to do something to confirm. So I'll put import all columns. And this is very important. Create new items and update existing items, or import all new rows, or import all rows as new. Only create new items, ignore existing items. What I want is update existing items, ignore new items, because I didn't add any new items, but I want them to update anything that changed. Okay. CSV field record ID. So that's going to be the one in here in the CSV. It shows record ID. That is the specific ID for the post. So that's important. That's going to be what actually pairs these up. Be very careful here because if you mess that up, it can really, really screw you up. Okay. Just kind of go through here and just make sure everything looks like it's the same. SEO description. Yep. Preview is fine. Now it's going to import, and this part can take a while depending on how many you did. So what I would have actually done normally would be, if I didn't make a bunch of changes, like if I only changed a few, like let's say that I only did these excerpts, I would just maybe copy these and I'd make a new spreadsheet. I'd paste the values only, and then I'd download that file and then I'd upload it, because that, after I made those changes to the excerpts, obviously, because now I'm going to be taking a little bit longer because I'm uploading all of those pages. So we'll give that a moment and we'll come back. Okay, and now the import is done. So to make sure that that actually showed up, we don't need to click save because it's already saved. But what we want to do is, so as you see here now, it does show up the SEO title inside of the sheet editor. So let's just go into posts and just double check to make sure that it actually did save. I know it did, but I'm going to show you so you can be confident that it does work. So we'll come in here to quick edit, and there is now a title right there. Okay, pretty cool. All right, now I would be remiss to not include this last part. This is a way to filter by specific URLs that we want to edit. So an example of when we'd want to do this, let's go into Google Search Console and let's try to find some blog posts that have low CTRs. Okay, so the Google Search Console part isn't really what I'm trying to demonstrate to you, but basically what I did was I filtered all of my posts and I tried to find ones that had a bunch of impressions but weren't getting clicks, because those are posts that would be great for updating the titles. Because if it has a low CTR, that means that there's room for growth. So like these posts here, free transparent arrows, Amazon repricing software, those URLs I could easily improve. So what I did here is I just copied 3 of them and I put them on the spreadsheet. What I'm going to do now is just copy those, Command C, and then inside of WP Sheet Editor, I'm going to filter by just those. So what I'm going to do is click on search and then click on enable advanced search. And I'm going to paste those URLs. And as long as they're each on their own line, we'll be good. If you want to filter by keyword or author or anything else, you can also do that. So that's a really cool feature. I don't do much with this. Then run the search, and now it should show just those 4. Okay. So let's say that I want to write new headlines for these. I could just do that, edit those, save, and now I'm good, right? Pretty cool. So that's a very fast way to go about doing that. And if I wanted to, I could also export that and create it into a spreadsheet where I would come back and edit these later. So that's just a quick way to go through if you already know that you have certain posts that need to be updated. All right, guys, that is WP Sheet Editor in a nutshell. If you want even more information, they do have a ton of training material over on their website. If you come in here, you go to help, they have tons of tutorials and Q&As. So again, it's a little bit dry, but anything that you need to know about, they have already answered it here, even better than I did in this video. So hopefully that helps, guys. Again, if you need a license, click the link below. There's a coupon, but if there's a better deal on the site, go ahead and grab it through the site. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and sticking through. You will be glad that you watched this over the years when you implement these changes as opposed to doing them all manually. I will see you all in the next video.